Yeah, I have no idea who that mysterious sub-gifter last night was, Minor. I have no idea who mysteriously gifted a sub to Tenho. Yeah, it must have been Pix. Ha! Remember who you were dealing with here. It's a sure bet that even Mr. Delight didn't notice the buzzer going off. This buzzer is extremely loud. There's no way he could have ignored something like that. If he had been conscious, that is. Conscious? What do you mean by that? Ugh. Fine. Let's hear your theory. I recall the defendant's testimony. So, yeah, that was another one fixed. The moment he entered the victim's office, someone attacked him. Mr. Delight said he felt dazed. I'm willing to wager he was knocked unconscious for just a few minutes. Unconscious? So he fainted? That's why Mr. Delight didn't know that he had that the buzzer had sounded. And that's why he thought he had time to hide the body. So, what you're trying to say? Mr. Delight was knocked out and the buzzer went off soon afterwards. Now, unless my client was able to hit the buzzer while he was unconscious, it can only mean that there was another person in that room. That's right, whoever it was, they knocked out Ron Delight and pressed the buzzer. Order in the court, Mr. Wright, this is preposterous. It was this kid. Ron Delight, he is the one who murdered Kane Bullard. And then who pressed the buzzer? It was the victim, of course. He pressed the buzzer when the defendant attacked him. He didn't die right away. He must have had enough time, held on long enough to push that button. So Kane Bullard sounded a buzzer himself. What is your opinion on this, Mr. Wright? I need to prove that the real criminal was there at the scene, but how? Can I prove that it wasn't Kane Bullard who sounded the buzzer? Of course I can prove it. The defense opinions is this, Your Honor. This piece of evidence proves that it wasn't the victim who sounded the buzzer, because there are no fingerprints on it. I believe this piece of evidence, this piece of incontrovertible evidence, this is the incontrovertible evidence you're looking for. The emergency buzzer? It has some sort of clue on it. Absolutely not. Hey, come now. At least give some thought to what you say before opening your mouth. The fact that there are absolutely no clues is itself the clue. No, I'm the one who's clueless. This button has no fingerprints on it. If Mr. Bullard really had pressed it himself, naturally, he would have left his fingerprints behind. Ron Delight obviously wiped him off. Why would he? A guard could have come in at any moment. He touched that button, I know he did. The defendant, Mr. Delight, was dressed up to Master Mask. And Master Mask always wears gloves. What reason could he possibly have to wipe the button off free of fingerprints? Order! 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 Ha! It will seem. I've been forced to eat crow. I wonder what blend number crow flavored coffee is. However, if the real killer was there at the scene, why would that person press the emergency buzzer? They shouldn't they run away without putting themselves in extra danger? What's with this awkward silence all of a sudden? Ha! Looks like you're fresh out of parlor tricks. They're onto you, Nick. Just give me a minute to collect my thoughts. The real culprit killed Bullard around 1 a.m. And Mrs. Light just happened to waltz in when the murder was taking place, right? Oh, sorry, wrong character. The killer clobbered Mr. Light and then sounded a buzzer. Even though security was supposed to respond right away, if the buzzer was pressed, security was supposed to respond. Time's up, Mr. Wright. Let's hear what you have to say. Very well then. Haha, you got some guts. I like that in an opponent. Why did a real killer sound the emergency buzzer? The killer knew that if they pressed that button, a guard would come running. And that was exactly what they wanted. Do you mean to say the killer called the guard on purpose? Yes, although as it turned out, he never showed up. Because he was getting his clock cleaned at the time. Ha! What a touching story. We're saying that the killer had a change of heart and tried to call the guard to turn himself in? No, I'm not. That's a new one, Pix. I think that's a new one. Didn't we hear that shock sound? When that buzzer sounded, there were 3 people in that building. The victim, Kane Bullard, who was already dead. The defendant, Ron the Light, who was out cold. And the third person, the real killer. Hypothetically, yes. Now then, in this situation, if the real killer had made an escape, what would happen? The only ones left in the building were the victim and Ron the Light. And if the security guards came running at the time, they would think I was the murderer. Yes, that is precisely the real killer's objective. To frame Ron the Light for murder. Order! 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 Ha! It was seen. I've been made to eat my own words once again. Actually, you've been made to do a spit take with a cup of coffee. Mr. Wright, who was it? Who was it that tried to frame me? Wait a second. I'm the one that only masked the mask, so... Nick, you mean the real killer is? We're going to have to drag that person in here right now. But who is it? I don't have solid proof yet, but think about it. The killer knew Mr. Delight's identity, and they also knew that he had been called to KB security that night. So, the killer used him to execute a well-crafted plan to murder Kane Bullard. Now then, let's hear your accusation, Mr. Wright. Who was it that framed Ron the Light for the murder of Kane Bullard? Detective looked at me. He's the only one who could have done it. You mean mask to mask did it? Your Honor, the person being tried in the court next to us is not mask to mask at all. He is, in actuality, the true murderer of Kane Bullard. Order! Order! Mr. Wright! Explain yourself! Theft and murder, which is the more serious crime? They're not even close. Murder is a more serious crime, of course. It's a capital crime subject to capital punishment. Please remember the trial from yesterday, if you would. When Luke Atney confessed, there was a huge commotion in the courtroom. Of course, a famous detective was unmasked as well. Mask to mask. Instead of being convicted of murder, he was going to be found guilty of grand larceny. That was his true objective all along. To be found guilty? Mask to Mask had the perfect alibi for when the murder took place. He was stealing the urn at Lord Taylor. In other words, being found guilty as Master Mask was Luke Atmy's airtight, watertight, and unassailable alibi. A guilty verdict as an alibi? You know, it's almost time. For what? For Luke Atmy's verdict. It was a pretty simple trial after all. If we're going to stop this trial and stall that one, we need to do it now. Of course, that's assuming you have proof the detective was the one who committed the murder. Mr. Luke Atmy's trial has indeed attracted the entire attention of the entire country. If we were to intrude and fail to provide adequate proof of his true crime, Mr. Delight will be left with no grounds for appeal. Am I really sure of this? Ha! A bet's only good when your life's at the ante. Mr. Wright, I believe in you! Mr. Delight. So, please, I'm begging you! Thanks, but my decision will determine the rest of your life. Can I really risk your life like this? Phoenix. What was that? Don't stray, Phoenix. For your client, take the path of trust. That voice, it sounds like Mia. Your Honor, the defense requests an immediate recess. Ha! So that's your answer, huh? Very well. I have decided as well. This court will now take a 20-minute recess. Mr. Wright, when we return, please summon Mr. Luke Atmy to the stand. Yes, Your Honor.
Well, Sir Detective Atmy.
I have to say, Mr. Payne, you performed splendidly.
Oh no, Sir Detective Atmy, you were the one who...
That's enough. This court sees no reason to further prolong this trial. This court finds the defendant, Luke Atmy. Wait! Don't hand down your verdict yet, please. Well, well, Sir Lawyer, welcome to my courtroom. Who is this hoser, eh? My name is Phoenix Wright, attorney at law, and I wish to file an accusation against this man, Luke Atmy.
Accusation? You accuse Mask the Mask?
That man is not Mask the Mask. He's just a ruthless murderer.
What?
Oh, you'll find out who that person is later, the judge in this case. He shows up later. Ow. Ow. Don't hit your head, Pix. I could have sworn I heard Mia's voice. So then she's still alive, inside your heart. Nicky boy! Oh, Mr. Light. Is it true that the detective is really the real killer? Sort of. I mean, provided it is on, it will keep spawning things, but there's a maximum amount of spawns that can occur at the same time. So you're gonna have to hit them, punch them manually. Tenno did some testing and it'll eventually stop spawning things. I think it's because like the kill area is too close to the farm itself, or the spawning area. To be honest, we don't have any definitive proof. But he's the only one who could have done it. But wasn't he at Lord Taylor that night? Not to mention, we don't exactly know his motive. I mean, why would Detective Atmy want to kill Caden Bullard? Oops, almost time. Better get back to the courtroom. I need to find some solid proof. It's gonna happen sooner rather than later. Yeah, I thought I had given it enough space, TC, but apparently I didn't when I bolted. You can move it, but it takes a little bit of effort to do so. But you can move the kill area if you want to. Just make sure to redirect all the hoppers and stuff. Now then, this court is back in session. Mr. Luke Atme, please take the stand. Nah. Oh, she's busy with a boss. Well, well, how do you do, Sir Lawyer? I never would have thought to see you acting so recklessly. I couldn't let them hand down your verdict just yet. When I would have given you your perfect alibi. An alibi by the name of Mask the Mask. I have no idea. She is fighting what looks to be a boss at in time, and I have no idea which boss it is. I'm sorry. I'm afraid even the great Luke Atme has no idea what you mean. Of course, I have been in the next courtroom ever since 10 o'clock this morning. I'm afraid there's no way I could know what's been going on in here. You've been in the defendant's seat all day, correct? I'm afraid I don't know that mean, no. You're sad. Okay. Do you have to revoke my nerd license from this? Being tried as Mask to Mask. Indeed. It is truly a child's play to fool the ignorant masses. Not only did the poor fools ask me to protect their valuables, they even gave me a generous reward upon returning their own property to them. Take this there red diamond ring that sparkles upon my divine finger, for example. So you continue to insist that you are in fact Mask the Mask. Oh, I see. Of course. I wasn't aware it was turned into a meme, but I'm familiar with the event. Very well then, Luke Atme, let us begin this with a simple question. On October 12th, on 1 AM, Kane Buller was murdered. Where were you at that time? I guess Bongo Cat. It's also a thing. But yes, do. One without knowledge lacks even the knowledge that he himself should be ashamed of himself. But don't worry, I will not hold it against you, Sir Judge. No thanks. I actually prefer Bongo Cat for some reason. All right, Mr. Atme, the night of the murder. Speak. We are all ears. As you wish, said prosecutor. I was stealing the urn as Master Mask, just as I announced I would. I had more than enough time to prepare. It was a pathetically easy job. A photograph contains no words, but in this case, it turned out to be my witness. The time of which the camera was captured, Master Mask was the same time as the murder. It seems the main point of discussion will be this photo of the crime scene. Everything up until now has been a part of his plan. There has to be a sequel to this picture as well. Even the great master the mouse cannot be in two places at once. Now then, if you'll excuse me, I have a verdict to receive. Unfortunately, Mr. Atme, we still have to do your cross-examination. Too foolish to know that he's a fool. I think it's a sanctuary saying you're full of it, Nick. The only thing that's full of it is his alibi. He's a very poor imitation of Francesca. Not important. This is disguise. Oh, what is that? I believe Adrian Andrews hired you at one point. That's right, it was over 20 days ago if I'm not mistaken. You sent the calling card to Lloyd Taylor 10 days before the heist. That would mean you sent out the card after you began your security watch, right? Indeed, there was no reason to why I couldn't just do both jobs at once. It was the perfect opportunity to steal my latest target. I see. You truly are evil, aren't you? Yes, evil is what I am. Hey, Nick, is there something odd about this? Detective Atney was always proud of his ace detective skills, right? But if the urn was stolen from Lloyd Taylor while he was the only one watching it, he'd have no way to maintain his perfect ace detective persona. You know, that's true. It's kind of odd. So, by photograph, you mean this piece of evidence here, is that correct? You mean Gordo's music, Mina? It is amazing. Indeed, that's it. The very thing that proves that I committed the crime. The very thing that proves you committed a crime? When you think about it, it's really odd. Yeah, the remake for Warcraft 3 is out today, and well, I have other things to do. You say that you almost had, as if you had this photo taken on purpose.
Objection.
He was simply caught by the very camera he had set up. We all have days like that. Indeed, it turned out there was no such thing as a perfect crime after all. Life is truly an ironic thing. A sad, blue melody. It looks like I'd be better gathering more information for now. If it's truly the killer, there's gotta be something in that photo. So there is though, because we know that the strange thing about this photo is this here. We know that the statue of Ami Faye was in this position on the night of the murder. We just have to figure out a way to connect it. About the camera that took this photograph. Oh, come now. It's all too clear what you're thinking. Huh? You think that I altered a timestamp on the photograph, don't you? I'm afraid that's impossible. The camera was set up by Lord Taylor, and on top of that, it was the Lord Taylor staff that printed this picture's data. Unfortunately for the defense, there's no way the picture could have been altered. I see. It looks like I found something else that we could be suspicious. Is his alibi false? It has to be, or he couldn't have killed Mr. Bullard at the KB security. But I'm really spotting anything unusual. There are two possibilities. Either the mask in the photo is fake, or the photo itself is. It's unimportant. But let's press this one. Ah, we got a bit too much there. That means I could not have killed Kane Bullet unless I had an accomplice. come on, think long and hard about that night. The basement warehouse, and this picture supposedly captured it. I'm not surprised that Warcraft 3 is a huge mess. Because, you know, Activision Blizzard fired their entire, like, just so much of their quality assurance team. Of course it's a mess. Are you implying that this picture is a fake? You bet I am. There's definitely something strange about this picture. We took a look around the basement that night before the theft took place. And there's something in this photo that doesn't quite match my memory of that night. Very well, then let's hear what you have to say. What do you find funny about this photo? The funny part is right here. Why this? This is a blood stain. Oh, blood! Now this case is getting interesting. No, not exactly. This stain is actually plain paint. No, just paint. A peach-colored one at that. From blood to peaches, the judge sure loves going on his wild tangents. The problem with this photograph is not the paint. The problem is when you consider the layout of the basement warehouse. It turns out something that should be there is nowhere to be seen. Very well, Mr. Wright. What is supposed to be in this picture instead of the paint stains? The supervisor of the treasure exhibition stated the following. I myself was there at night and the theft took place and saw the statue in that spot. If this picture was truly taken that night, then that statue should have been there. But when I went there the day after the theft, that statue of the old bag was sitting in the corner. Perhaps it was someone pushed there accidentally. Your Honor, this statue is slightly larger than yourself and quite heavy. It would take more than an accidental push to move it in that distance. Ha! In that case, can you prove it? Can you give us a rhyme and reason as to why the statue was moved that night? Can you do it, Nick? Never mind who moved it. The real question is, why did they move it? Well, Mr. Wright, I hope you're prepared with your answer. Now then, who was it that moved the golden statue on the night of the crime? Tell the look at me. The one who moved the statue is none other than Look at me. He has superpowers, you know, Pigs. Come now, Sir Lawyer, there you go on with your strange delusions. Mr. Wright, what basis do you have for your strange delusions? It's very simple. The witness was the only one in the basement warehouse that night. That is indeed very simple. However, why would I want to move a heavy golden statue? The reason for moving the golden statue? This is where the real battle begins. Fake mug, it's empty. Just coffee spilled all over. Well, Mr. Wright, what reason did a witness have to move that statue? The reason can be found here in this photograph. Look at me, you pretended to be Mask the Mask to create an alibi by showing you were at Lord Taylor at night. But this photograph contains a single fatal flaw. If the statue had been there, your lie would have been exposed like the cheap film at a drugstore. That is why I had to move the statue. A single fatal flaw? Interesting theory. Please enlighten us. Just where in this picture does the lie exist? Timestamp. Naturally, the lie in this photo lies in the timestamp. What do you mean? I'll tell you exactly what I mean. On the night in question, Luke Atme went to KB Security and murdered Kane Bullard. Therefore, it's obvious. It would have been impossible for him to have been at Lordy Taylor at this time. Yeah, there is no time. There's no date. It's just timestamp. So he could have just have taken this a day before. But what does it have to do with